Hey everyone, Mr. Kim Singh here, and today we're looking at expanding algebraic expressions. And in this lesson, we're looking at something called the distributive law. So if you think about distributing, you're like kind of giving things to people, right? We're kind of doing that with these algebraic terms. And in particular, we're looking at expanding and removing brackets and what that actually looks like. So in algebra, when you want to remove brackets or expand, the way we do that is with multiplication. So you're going to multiply the terms inside the brackets by the terms outside the brackets. So here's a kind of general way of saying it. We use letters here to represent any kind of number. So here you can see, all right, well, I'm multiplying b with a, well, b times a, that becomes ab over here. And I'm multiplying by c by a as well. I'm going to draw these red arrows to kind of represent that. And so I create AC over here, right? So remember in algebra, to represent things multiplied next to each other, we just write them next to each other. How does this look like with numbers? We can use this as a bit of a guide, and now they ask us to expand. So we're going to look at that over here. So how do I do this? Well, when I'm thinking of expanding, I want to try and remove the brackets through this multiplication. So I've got x multiplied by 2 here. So that becomes 2 times x. Multiplied by 2 over here. That becomes 2 times 4, right? And so remember, in algebra, when I multiply two things together for a number and letter, that can just be written as 2x. Now 2 times 4, I know that's just a number, that just becomes 8. Okay. Let's keep going and try another very similar kind of example. Okay, so I've got this guy over here, multiply the x by the 2, and write that as 2 times x, and same thing, 5 multiplied by 2, so that's 2 times 5. And then I'll just simplify these, so 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 5, I know what that is, that's just 10. Now, at this point, if you're feeling comfortable, this second line here, that's just a bit of a guide to tell you what I'm actually doing each time. If you're feeling more comfortable, you can actually skip that line and you could just say, all right, well, 3 times 2x, I know that when I'm multiplying these two together, I multiply the numbers together. That's 3 times 2, or just 6. And then what you want to be careful of is when you have a positive and negative. So you remember when in multiplication, if you have a positive number multiplied by a negative number, then I actually get a negative number as well. So I've got 3 multiplied by negative 3, that becomes negative 9 there, okay? And so I guess the tricky part is sometimes they're going to incorporate negatives on the outside as well, in this example over here. But I'm going to do the same principle here. I've got the inside term, I'm multiplying by the outside, so that becomes negative 3x. And here, again, you want to be careful. You've got two negatives multiplied to each other. So remember, two negatives, we multiply them together, we get a positive value. That's positive 12. Sometimes the outside term will also have a variable there, right? So in this case, I've got x. And what I want to do is I just want to be careful that I'm actually multiplying it with the term on the inside properly, right? Because here I know the numbers, 3 times negative 2, that would just be negative 6. And then when I have two x's multiplied together, I'll just do this on the side here, x times x, right? When I'm multiplying these together, what you're actually doing is you're adding the indices, and so that becomes x squared. Think about it like your numbers, right? If you have 5 times 5, that becomes 5 squared, or just 25, right? So that's just an example of how we multiply two letters together in algebra. So over here, I've got those two x's multiplied by each other. So that just becomes x squared. And now these two terms, so I've got negative 2y and negative 2x. Well, I'm going to do the multiplying the numbers first. So that becomes negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. And then y times x, I can write that as xy. Okay. Sometimes they might ask you to expand and simplify as well. So when you want to simplify, you can think about that as reducing or making things smaller. Another way of thinking about it algebraically is collecting like terms. So remember, like terms are anything that have the exact same letters and same powers. So if there's anything like that, I can put them together. That's what simplifying means. So here, this 8, I'm just going to leave that by itself. It's not a part of the bracket over here. What I really want to focus on is this, because this is the expansion that I'm interested in. Right? The 8 is not the first term that I can see that's attached to it. So I'm just going to focus on this part here first. So here, I'm going to keep the 8 there. Now I'm going to expand these out. So I've got 2x times 3, that becomes 6x. And remember, we've got a negative here, so just be careful. So it's going all the way over there. Negative 3 times 3, that becomes negative 9. And so what are the like terms here? Well, the 6x is there by itself. There's nothing that's there. But these numbers here, they are here, and I can put numbers together. That's another way we can simplify, right? So 8 minus 9, just be careful with the order there. We have a smaller number, take away a bigger number, should be -1. So I've got 6x minus 1 there. All right, one more to try. And you can see how you can start making these a bit harder, right? Because now you've got 2 pairs of brackets. So what are we going to do with that? Well, similarly to before, why don't we just focus on this first part, right? So this first part over here, that's a problem we've seen before. I've got 3 times 2x, that's 6x. And 3 times 2, that becomes 6. And at this point, again, I'm just going to be very careful with this negative. When I'm multiplying these out, I want to make sure I'm remembering that this is a -4 here. So I've got x times -4 is -4x. And I've got a +4 as a -4 over here. So that's going to be a negative number. In fact, it's -16. Now you can actually see we've got a few more like terms here, right? Because these two both have an x term. And so I can put these together. That's 6 minus 4x. 6 minus 4x, that's a positive 2x. Think about that, 6 minus 4. And then you've got 6 minus 16 over here. Just underline them. So 6 minus 16, you can check on your calculator, or you can use your number line. That will be -10. Okay? And that's how we can expand and simplify algebraic expressions.